Hello and welcome to the video looking at different kinds of selection. We're going to be looking at natural selection here, but we're also going to be looking at some different types of natural selection. So we start with the overall branch of natural selection then. And what happens in natural selection is that mutations and migration introduce new alleles into populations. So this is a result of mutations or migration, and we've got new alleles. Some individuals within a population will be better adapted than others to the environment due to the differences in their gene types and phenotypes. So if we've got somebody with a new allele or another allele, for example, if we've got someone, a mouse that has got grey fur that is better adapted to be camouflaged, the better adapted to their environment, they're more likely to survive and reproduce. And then they're going to pass on the advantageous alleles. So they're going to pass on the allele to have grey fur, which is going to make the offspring camouflage as well. So over time, the allele frequencies within the population will change. And allele frequencies are quite self-explanatory, how frequent an allele is within that population. So over many generations, so over time, there's going to be a higher proportion of this beneficial allele in the population, and that's natural selection. There are like the three main types of this selection. We've got stabilising, directional and disruptive. I'll do stabilising first. Stabilising selection is when the organism's environment remains unchanged in the unchanged environment. It favours the intermediate phenotypes. So in humans, babies of birth mass of 3.5 kilograms are more likely to survive. So they inherit different alleles leading to this mean birth mass. So it's the intermediate phenotypes. So if we had it in a graph, we would have, if this was the original population, the population after the selection would be like this. So we've got the intermediate phenotypes being selected for. And then a second type of selection is directional selection. And if this is when the environment changes, so for example, by becoming colder, there might now be an advantage to being larger So a larger mass becomes the ideal and will be selected for. So you have a change in environment. So when these larger individuals survive, if it's, so I'm going to say that it's colder, larger individuals survive, they're going to reproduce, and they're going to pass on these alleles to be larger onto the offspring. So over several generations there's a gradual shift in the optimum values for the trait. So if we had this in a graph, we've got, if this was the optimum before here, now it might be that the optimum's here. To have a large, if this was mass, it would be to have a larger mass. That would be the more ideal for that environment. In nature, the directional selection might alternate with stabilising selection as well. The last type of natural selection that we're going to look at today is disruptive selection. I'll put here. Disruptive selection. So this favours both extreme phenotypes and the intermediate phenotypes. So it favours intermediate and extreme. So it's the intermediate that is selected against, so that's selected against. So it favours the extreme. That's selected against, and it's the extreme ones that we're wanting. So if there was a population of rabbits, for example, where some have black fur, some have white fur, and some have grey fur, and if they're living in an area where the grey fur is the best camouflage by blending in to the background, more of these grey furs would escape predation and survive to reproduce. If they move to an area where there is some black rocks and some white rocks, then the black and white rabbits would both hide from predators. So eventually this rabbit population would contain many black and white rabbits. So we've got, in a graph, we might have that the original population being like that, but after selection we might have it looking more like this. So we've got, for example, our white rabbits and our black rabbits, but here the white rabbits are selected against because they just are. Okay, that is it for these types of natural selection. Thank you for watching.